Alright, as we get started, we're going to start looking at parallelograms. And so, a parallelogram, some people call it a crooked rectangle. As we look at this rectangle, or this parallelogram, A, B, C, D, some of the things that we're going to learn about a parallelogram are that the opposite sides are parallel. And so whenever we have both sets of opposite sides parallel, that makes a parallelogram. And when we have a parallelogram, there are certain properties that are always true. And today we're going to look at just the lengths. So whenever I tell you it's a parallelogram, there are certain things that we always know. And the first thing is that the opposite sides are congruent. And this symbol congruent means the same shape and same size. And that's what we're going to be looking at is today, that same size for these lengths. And so on a parallelogram, the way we do that is we just put these little marks here, and that means that these opposite sides are equal. And so since I use one mark here, I couldn't use one mark here because then that would mean that these two sides are equal. And so what we do is we use two marks. So that means these sets of opposite sides are equal. And so that's the first property we're going to look at. Opposite sides are congruent. So let's look at these examples. And so what we're going to start doing is I'll do one example for you, and then it's your responsibility to try the next one on your own. In order to get the stamp, you must have the second example done with the correct work shown. Alright, so we just talked about this. Opposite sides are congruent. And so that means that this side, this 22.6, is going to be congruent to its opposite side. And so I know that question mark is going to equal 22.6. So we'll call this 1A, call this 1B. So you guys need to copy down 1B and try it on your own. The next thing we're going to learn about parallelograms is we're going to look at, let's go ahead and label it again, A, B, C, D. We're going to look at the diagonals. And the diagonals go from one vertex to the opposite vertex. So one diagonal is AC. And the other diagonal is BD. And so the first thing is the diagonals are not congruent. Okay, they are not equal. But what happens when the diagonals cross is it cuts each other in half, and so they get bisected. And so that means that this piece here is equal to this piece here, and this piece is equal to this piece. So let's go ahead and name them where they cross. We'll call it E. And so that means that AE is going to have the same measurement as EC, and BE is going to equal ED. And so what we say, our second thing that we need to learn today, are that the diagonals bisect each other. And that word bisect just means they cut in half. So let's look at an example. So the first one, let's go ahead and call it 2A. This one will be 2B. I'll do 2A, and then you need to do 2B on your own. Okay, so it says that RT is 34. So from R to T, it's 34. We want to find UT, so just this piece. So if I know this whole thing here is 34, from here to here, actually let's change that color, I don't want it to be blue. I know the whole thing is 34, the thing that we learned is that the diagonals bisect each other or cut each other in half, so that this piece and this piece are going to be equal. Well, you can see that I just need to know half of that. And so you just need to do half of 34. And if you don't know it in your head, just take 34 and divide by 2. So half of 34 is 17. That means that this piece here is 17. So now we write a sentence that UT is equal to 17. So pause the video, try 2B on your own, make sure you have it in your notes, and make sure you write a geometric sentence. Alright, the last example we're going to look at is going to be 3A and 3B. I'll do A, you do B. Alright, it says DG is 24. So from D until G is 24. So we learned that they cut each other in half, so these are equal. And so that means if this is 24, that this piece here is also 24. And so now the question that they're asking for is, what is DF? So from D all the way to F. And so that's just going to be 24 plus 24, which is equal to 48. So now we write our sentence. We're going to say that DF is equal to 48. Try the same thing on 3B. And when you're done, bring me your notebook to get your stamp.